Members, for the fourth session of the day on the topic New Outlook to GST Litigation in 2025, can I request CA Chandrasekhar sir to escort CA Jatin sir onto dais and then welcome him with floral bouquet. Thank you, sir. Members, I have a privilege in introducing my guru, CA Jatin Christopher sir. Jatin Christopher is a chartered accountant, cost accountant, and a law graduate. He qualified in the year 1996 and specializes in indirect tax laws. He is a published author and a resource person for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in its various post-qualification programs on indirect taxation and extends support to ICAI in publication of educational and research material on various indirect tax topics. He is also a resource person for the government in conducting training for the practitioners, trade, and officers. He has been into practice since 2000 as partner in JCSS, a full-service firm with presence across India. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Jatin Christopher, sir. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, friends. It's always a pleasure to be present on the Institute's platform to share some thoughts about GST. As we approach the end of the year, I'm sure those who are still here are here to hear about what is the outlook for GST litigation. We've seen in GST a barrage of notices. Nearly everyone's got notices. Anyone who's not got notices don't know that they've got notices. Everyone's got notices, and most of the notices are based on data differences. It's not that data is not important, data is important, but data differences itself has thrown up so much of demand that the government had to introduce amnesty scheme in one shape or form or the other. It's even said that input tax credit claimed beyond the time limit in the statute, the demand at stake was about 1,45,000 crores. So there is no chance that the government would have been able to recover an additional month's revenue with nearly 2 lakh crores as monthly revenue. Another 1,45,000 crores could never have gone into recovery. Government, in its wisdom, decided to allow relief to such taxpayers who have filed their returns belatedly by allowing them to claim, to give quietus to those demands if they have filed returns by 30th November 2021. If you see the number of schemes that are coming out, most of the disputes that are being resolved are the inelegant disputes. Something is not matching with something, therefore there is a notice issued. So even the demands other than time-barred credits, you will find that it's related to differences in data. There's something called adverse inference. Like we say colloquially, silence is acceptance. In adversarial litigation, silence does not amount to acceptance. GST has a very powerful section, very short but a very, very powerful section whose power we are still not fully taken advantage of. Section 59 says, every registered person shall self-assess his liability under the Act. So who is the one to decide what is my liability? The taxpayer himself has to decide what is a liability. Whenever there is a assessment of liability, whether by self or by a proper officer, there must be an assessment order. Now, where is the assessment order for self-assessment? It's nothing but the invoice in which we determine whether it is taxable and issue a tax invoice. It is non-taxable and we issue a bill of supply. If it is both taxable as well as non-taxable articles involved, Then it is an invoice cum bill of supply, where we arrive at the valuation, the rate of tax, the time and place of supply, whether it is liable to IGST or CGST and SGST. All the information that should form part of an assessment order are present in this invoice itself. Many years ago, we had this dispute in customs law to say where is the assessment order for customs duty. Supreme Court said in Flock India and then later in Priya Blue and later confirmed in ITC Limited to say that bill of entry is the assessment order. And if you are aggrieved by the assessment carried out in the bill of entry, appeal has to be filed against the bill of entry itself. Taking cue from there, if invoice is the assessment order, the liability to tax is determined in the invoice. The liability determined is disclosed in the monthly returns filed under section 37, which is GSTR 1. When liability is disclosed in GSTR 1, it is discharged in 3B. We need to recognize the role each document plays. If you look at section 7512, you will find that the law says when liability has been admitted and disclosed in GSTR 1, but it has not been fully discharged in 3B, then proper officer can attach bank account. There is no need to issue a show cause notice. A lot of disputes came up because government proper officers started to take recovery action. Matters reached the court. Court said, no, how can you recover without a demand? They said it is only proper that a show cause notice has to be issued. Actually, there is a concept in Justice Chinnappa Reddy brought out this point in MC Mehta versus Union of India, where he said there's something called useless formality theory. Useless formality theory. There is no purpose of giving a notice. Giving of a notice is a useless formality because whatever you say, I don't agree. Not that there is a dispute. There is a dispute and I am adamant and I don't agree. It is not at all in dispute. When I have admitted liability in GSTR 1, but I have not discharged what I have admitted, what further remains to be said in a notice? You understand? So therefore, it is very important to identify whenever there is a demand, is it a disputed demand or an undisputed arrear? To dispute a demand, all that the taxpayer needs to do is to take a stand that he disputes it. He need not give reasons for it, much less valid reasons. All that he needs to say is, I dispute the demand. Once the demand is disputed, it becomes a disputed arrear and it goes out of the safety of 7512 into chapter 15, where a proper notice has to be issued and so on and so forth. The reason why we have to understand the construct is sections are placed in different chapters for different reasons. The reason why we have to understand this is also because going forward, we won't have notices based on data differences, because the data that the system pushes is what we have to report. We can't push any new data. Some fields are still editable, but even those will soon not be editable. If data differences will not cause any or many disputes, what sort of disputes can arise? We'll give a few. This evening we will talk about a few of those instances. I would encourage, regardless of what is your field of practice, whether you are dealing with corporate law, whether you're dealing with income tax, whether you're dealing with non-corporate taxpayers, whether you're dealing with matters linked to internal financial controls, risk assurance, whether you're advising companies as far as listed companies, regardless of your areas of work, you cannot be oblivious to the GST implication of any decision taken in those areas. We'll take a few instances, touch upon this, and then go back to see what does the law have to say about it. The owner of a building offers his building to a tenant for a 5-year lease, all right, 5-year rent. It's a rental agreement for 5 years, duly registered, stamped, etc. One of the terms in the rental agreement says 3 months during fit-out period, rent-free occupation is permitted. Now let's examine what is going on. During the 3 months, rent need not be paid, or rent is accrued but waived. It is not that there is no rent during the 3 months. When there is no rent, that means for those 3 months, there are two interpretations possible. 60 months rent is actually paid in 57 months. That is one way of viewing this. See, the accountant will normalize every abnormality. If the agreement says the rent is 10 lakh rupees per month, we cannot reduce it to less than 10 lakh rupees and say this is for 60 months. It is very clearly 10 lakh rupees per month. So 30 lakh rupees of rent is waived by the landlord. GST payable, not payable? Of course it is payable. Why? Your agreement itself says rent is 10 lakhs per month. Please show me 10 into 60. 10 into 12 per year you have paid tax. First year you have paid 10 into 9. 10 into 9 you have collected. I am not interested in whether you collect or not. You have to pay 18% GST on 10 lakhs. 1.8 into 12. Show me that, then I will let you go. What is the source of this information? The source of this information is the assessee's own contract. Now we will look at some more aspects relating to rental because it's an easy example. When you're traveling in Bangalore, you will find a lot of malls. A lot of malls have big hoardings on the wall. We'll take two examples. Let's say there is one mall which has IRCTC advertisement. IRCTC advertisement is on the wall. Another mall where Apple Watch advertisement is there. Which of first mall is, let us call it Mall A. Second mall, we'll call it Mall B. Mall A is on some road. Mall B is on a different road. Which of the two malls will you treat to be a premium mall? Which one? You can only answer. The mall will dictate the advertisement will dictate the mall. You understand what's going on. Now, what happens is, the rent for that wall space is liable to GST, not liable to GST. Because the tenant has taken only floor space, not wall space, especially not the exterior wall. If any mall offers wall space on rent, the owner will have to show wall rental for 12 months. No. After 6 months, the advertising agency who had the contract with Apple, they said they don't want to advertise anymore, and they took down the advertisement, they ended their contract and they went. Have you seen any mall, a premium mall in Bangalore, for example, where the space meant for displaying an advertisement, especially facing the road, etc., is empty for months together? You will never have that. Because if Mall B is a premium mall, Apple Watch is gone from the wall, it will become Mall A. To maintain the rent it can command, they may even offer to retain that hoarding for another 6 months rent-free. So therefore, can you see leakage of revenue here? He may choose not to collect rent. His contract may stand terminated. But is the advertisement still there? If it is there, then there is a record. Now, how will anyone know 2 years later what happened to that advertisement? Was it taken down or not? There has to be other material to say whether it was actually taken down or not. Disposal of the vinyl hoarding when it was recorded, or electricity consumption should have had a drop after the agreement. Some material needs to be placed on record. Third, another example could be a brand new mall coming up, and in that brand new mall, a very premium clothes store comes in to take up space. When they come in to take up space, they are what is called anchor tenant. If the main shop is so-and-so store, then the rest of the mall becomes a premium mall. Now, what is the rent charged by the anchor tenant? Many years ago, this is service tax era, there was a mall in Bangalore near Mayo Hall. It was said that that clothes brand, they had entered into a 9-year rent-free occupation of the building, because they were such a premium brand at that time that the rent lost from that tenant would more than be made up by the rent paid by all others who occupied the rest of the building. There is a commercial wisdom in making some decisions, but GST is not interested into looking into the motivation of the parties for doing something. GST is only interested in looking at what exactly they have done and what is the tax treatment that should apply. If an anchor tenant gets a deep discount, let's say the rent there is about 200 rupees a square foot, and if the anchor tenant pays 50 rupees, then GST payable on 50 or 200? Obviously, it is on 200. These are just very simple examples that we can see right in front of our eyes as we're going after the conference. When you're going towards Malleshwaram, there's one mall here. If you're going towards MG Road, there's one mall there. If you're going towards Hebbal, there are many malls that side. Question is, what happens to leakage of revenue? Going forward, here is what my outlook is. GST litigation will be based on innovative interpretation being canvassed to otherwise standard contract terms. You understand? So therefore, it becomes tremendously important for the first responders. Invariably, chartered accountants are the first responders. It is for us to be very alert as to what legal remedies are available for the taxpayer so as not to do anything that can cause prejudice to the taxpayer's remedy. I'll give a small example to tell you how profound the first responder's response can have a bearing on the outcome. 2021, department came for an audit. They came and said, your creditors is about 300 crores. Therefore, you have to reverse ITC to the extent of this 300 crores of creditors. 2021. Option A, one response. One response is, I will provide creditors aging report. Out of 300 crores, only 170 crores relate to creditors where ITC is availed. Remaining 130 crores is creditors where I have not taken any ITC. It could be some non-creditable transactions I have not. So therefore, the scope of the verification should be reduced from 300 to 170. See, almost a 40% relief he has managed to get for his client. Next, 2021 is the audit period. 21-22, details he takes out of the creditors aging report. We are used to events occurring after balance sheet date. We studied nicely in final. So he took out the creditors ledger subsequently and showed that 150 crores has been settled within September, within 180 days of the next year also. So even if department wants to raise any demand, they have to reclaim demand only for 20 crores of creditors where ITC has been availed, not paid within 6 months. Department says, no, this 20 crores I will ask for a reversal of credit along with interest from the time when the 180 days ends, plus I will demand interest. You have taken up to September next year, but we don't know if 180 days started on 31st March. 180 days may have started during the year. Now we will examine all this. This is option A. Option B. This taxpayer goes to the department and says, 2021, 300 crores is the creditors. There are no unsettled creditors attracting Rule 37. There may be other creditors. There are no creditors whose dues are unsettled attracting Rule 37 is the response he has given. Officer said, you give me details, I want to verify. So the taxpayer told the audit party saying that the details are in 21-22 you don't have authorization to look into 21-22 records because your assignment says 2021 audit you have to do. I will not give you books. But the things didn't stop right there. Officer concluded the audit, went and got himself authorization for 21-22. He came back. Now I have authorization, you show me the details. So the taxpayer said in option B, I will show you all the details of creditors where I have claimed credit in 21-22. No, I want to verify your opening balance. So taxpayer said, opening balance audit is already completed, I've got ADT2. Friends, please bear in mind, we need to know the concept of jurisdiction. Who has to raise what issue? What is the extent of authorization granted for such a question to be raised? Another instance is, refund was applied, refund was sanctioned. After about a year, department issued a show cause notice saying that that refund should not have been granted. It is an erroneous refund, and a show cause notice was issued. The question is, can you give all the documentation to explain and justify that the refund was validly sanctioned? Option A, someone goes through all the process of giving all the documentation to re-justify, because justifying refund was already done and satisfactorily concluded when refund came to be sanctioned. But now when a show cause notice is issued, again those documents are being given. That is option number 1. Option number 2, as you are aware, show cause notice can be issued under 54 or 73. We'll leave 74 aside. 54 show cause notice is whether the refund should be granted or not. 73 show cause notice is whether the ITC which you are claiming as a refund is at all eligible. There's a deeper question. Circular 125 in para 20 says, if the refund sanctioning authority has doubts about the admissibility of the credit itself at the stage of scrutinizing refund sanction, the officer should issue a show cause notice under 73 and not merely under 54. It's called a composite notice, 54 plus 73 notice. Now here what happens is, when a show cause notice is issued demanding repayment of erroneous refund, the taxpayer in option B says, did you come across any new material that shows refund sanctioned was erroneous? No, because to come across new information, a new proceeding ought to have been initiated. The refund sanctioning authority is the one who granted me registration, who issues notices under 61 called ASMT 10, scrutinizing the returns, etc. He is not the audit officer or the intelligence officer to take up proceedings under 65 or 67 respectively. Since you never got any new information, neither did I introduce any new material, nor did you come across any new material, since no audit was done, no inspection was done, what you are doing is basically going through your existing files to see if there is anything amiss in your refunds. Friends, please bear in mind, there are vast number of notices issued after sanctioning refund saying that that refund is erroneous. The reason why these kinds of frivolous notices you will find is, while calculating revenue every month, pre-deposit amount paid is also considered revenue. So if anyone makes a 10% pre-deposit, that month's target goes up. It gets fulfilled. Please be very careful. When refund was sanctioned, someone applied their mind, came to a conclusion that refund ought to be sanctioned. Having once applied their mind, they no longer have authority to go back into that file once again. He is what is called a functus officio. His powers exist, but after exercising it once, it is exhausted. It's like a matchstick. If you light it once, it will glow. After the fire burns out, that matchstick is no longer fit to be used again. Once he has exhausted his power, he cannot look into the file again. Let us say he does look into the file and comes across something that is not right. What should the department do? They should file appeal against the refund sanctioned. They cannot issue a show cause notice. Because that time limit to file appeal, 6 months plus 1 month, time limit is lost. Department has issued show cause notice after 1 year on the premise that nobody is going to notice it. First responders are so enthusiastic to provide all the, we already have 4 box files. What we will do, we will make photocopy of it and file it. The full file we will not, because tomorrow if we require once again, please bear in mind, as first responders, have we inadvertently done something that causes prejudice to the case? We have so many answers ready to be provided that we don't first pause to consider whether I should be giving this answer. This is not CF final. If there is a question, there is no compulsion to answer unless there is an obligation to answer. Someone was saying, you have not explained why you have paid 12% tax, therefore I will demand additional 6% tax. Please be very careful. When self-assessment is primary, it is the responsibility of the department to impeach self-assessment by producing a mountain of evidence. The greater the demand, the liability, the bigger should be the mountain of evidence. They cannot simply say, you have not given explanation, therefore. So one instance that came up, a show cause notice arriving at a very big demand. The allegations in the show cause notice says show cause notice is proceeding based on audit. Department says in the show cause notice, certain details were called for regarding the claim of input tax credit. No information was forthcoming. Therefore, please show cause why this credit should not be denied. Broadly, this is the contours. All the issues, broadly, it is like this. So the taxpayer took a position. If audit was commenced on a certain date, visit was done after a few months, more documents were provided, acknowledgement is available of all the documents submitted during the course of the audit. Audit concluded with a list of findings under Rule 1014. Some response was provided. Audit concluded under 65(6) with a report in ADT 2 stating that these are the observations, and then you proceed to issue a show cause notice. Now what happened is, if you are saying that you are not satisfied with the information provided, then there are 2 things required. One, you must show what information you demanded from the taxpayer and how the taxpayer failed to fulfill that demand. You send a letter saying that I want 10 things. Taxpayer replies saying, I will give you only 2 things. Reminder for the other 8, no response. Some material is necessary to show that there was non-response. Second, if you are satisfied that the taxpayer has not participated properly in the audit, why did you conclude the audit? You should have withdrawn the audit, refer the case to intelligence to conduct a thorough investigation, because this is blatant non-participation in routine audit. There must be some reason that he is withholding all this information in spite of, then you did not do that. When you had the power to withdraw from the audit, there is no compulsion to conclude every audit that is commenced. You withdraw from the audit, refer the case to enforcement, vigilance, anti-evasion, preventive, all the wings that are still existing when there is no need for them to exist. Then you bring home allegations saying that 12% is not correct, 18% is correct, 6% should be demanded, 74 will sustain. You cannot approbate and reprobate. You cannot say yes, yes and no, no at the same time. When you issued ADT 2, that means you are satisfied with my participation. That means you have got all the material to reach a conclusion that there is a liability. You cannot now hide behind non-participation by the assessee. I have a duty not to participate to your satisfaction. I have to do the bare minimum. 40 in every paper, 50 aggregate. No, you should study more. Today only results, no? You see all the wonderful, social media is full of pink color. Everyone's uploading their marks. Very nice. But if you see, I have an interest to give information that is not to my detriment. Correct? First responders approach. If we know what is the consequence, where this is headed. But show cause notice and reply to show cause notice is considered simple tasks. Appeal only we will go to somebody else. But I think there's a big opportunity because those who deal with appellate matters, high court matters, etc., they don't come in to deal with the first response. Therefore, there is an enormous, unending opportunity as far as how these things need to be understood to determine the tax. There's one instance where department said there's a transaction, a commercial joint development agreement. You know what is joint? Everyone is aware of what it is. Officers are not aware of what is joint development. They prepared an audit report and said this assessee is a builder. Now it depends on from what point of view. If he has got RERA approval for his project, then he's a builder. Otherwise, he's a contractor. So they entered into a joint development agreement for a small commercial project on some sharing basis. For some reason, they were not in a position to sell any of the units. They were not in a position to sell any of the units. The developer self-financed the construction and got completion also. After completing the joint development, after completing the project, they went and cancelled the joint development agreement. Cancellation of the JDA, what does it do? It goes back in time. Cancellation is not prospective. Cancellation means as if the joint development was never in existence. Now department comes and says, you please pay tax on the transfer of development rights. So both the agreements were placed before the officer and said, sir, please tell me, joint development is entered into or not entered into? They've still not come back as to what they should do about it. Friends, please bear in mind, there are many, many new areas that are yet to be uncovered. We will see in the year ahead as to how department is raising. We've seen only a few issues. We've seen issues like corporate guarantee. Corporate guarantee, hurriedly government went and inserted the rule also to provide a valuation mechanism. Existence of a mechanism to do valuation is not proof that it is taxable. First, you must establish it is taxable. To compute the quantum of tax payable, recourse to valuation rules is helpful. The tail will not wag the dog. First, it has to be decided based on whether it is taxable. So, corporate guarantee was one that caught everyone's attention this year for all the wrong reasons. Before that, we had this issue, holding of shares service. What is this? If a foreign company holds shares in its subsidiary, it was said that the foreign company is providing a service to the subsidiary by holding the shares. Notices were issued left, right, and center, demands were being made. Then central government had to intervene and issue a circular saying that that is not a service. It is a byproduct of making the investment. You subscribe to the memorandum, you will have to, even if you don't like it, you have to hold the shares. This is not a... So therefore, we've seen some of these attempts. Now, to your mind, as a student of tax law, if this sounds ridiculous, if it sounds that it is not based on good application of first principles of tax law, you have to only be prepared that going forward, we will not only see demands raised based on a good understanding of first principles, but even bad understanding of first principles. To issue a notice that is not sustainable, there is no downside. How can you issue a notice like this? nobody is going to be pulled up. But if you don't issue a notice that is going around everywhere, there will be consequences. Now, if you see the way GST operates, you're aware, it's the same across the length and breadth of the country. Previously, sitting in Bangalore, we were not in a position to very confidently advise what should be done in Hosur. It's just about 35 kilometers from here. What should be done in Hosur? No clarity. Today, there are people practicing in Bangalore, drafting replies for cases in Guwahati, Rajkot, Cochin, Jammu. Everywhere it's going. So therefore, do you think that in the year ahead, there won't be exchange of information based on sector specialization in different geographies? Financial services, Bombay will do some innovation. Do you think those notices will not come and be available for officers in Bangalore to canvass that view? Hospitality, something done in Goa, will that not will not be available in Calcutta? Something done in Delhi, will it not be available in Bangalore? So please bear in mind, it's not about whether the team of officers who visit the taxpayer who should be knowledgeable, or your jurisdictional proper officer, whether he is aware of all these issues, how he should raise those demands. As long as this demand can be raised, it will be raised. So my question is, we are now at some point in this evening's deliberations, to ask ourselves, do we have some sort of errors master? Do we have a list of potential soft areas in our business? Take any client, understand the segment, look at all the issues that are involved. Can we make a list of 5 issues on outward supply, 5 issues on inward supply, 5 issues on input credit? If we can, only 5, we don't need too many. We don't need too many. GST department conducts audit, they will send an inquiry, they will send 40 items. Please provide all these documents in 7 days. No further extension will be granted. Isn't it? 40 items are required to be produced within 7 days. And if you don't produce the documents, notice will be justified under section 74. No cooperation, since information itself was not forthcoming, notice is issued under 74. When someone asks a lot of questions that are all over the place, you know they don't know anything about your trade. When someone asks 4 questions, you don't need to provide them a response. You may as well send them a tax payment challan, because he knows what the issues are. He knows what the issues are. The reason why these things are important is because I believe chartered accountants are ideally placed, because we have, right from our articleship days, we have had the opportunity to study businesses up close. Chartered accountants know the inner workings of a business, because the inner workings, some of it are authored in our office only. So therefore, our understanding of the workings of a business needs to come to the fore as far as how do we look at this errors master. 5 areas, 5 soft spots as far as output tax is concerned, 5 on inward supply, 5 on input credit. You know how many? 15 issues we will have for a given client. Are all those 15 areas taken care of, discussed, alerted? There are 3 kinds of taxpayers. I believe there are 3 kinds of taxpayers. One, oblivious of what is going on in the world, he does his business. He deserves to get show cause notice. Oblivious of what's going on in the trade, in the business, he goes on doing business, he deserves to get show cause notice. When he gets a show cause notice, he is going to look for help to see how he has to address it. Another is fully aware of the plurality of views. There are 2 different views possible. It can be like this also, it can be like that also. Knowing fully well that there are 2 possibilities, he decides to take that one which is to his advantage. Like safari credits. He wants to take credit on construction, costs incurred, arguing on logic, and disputing the instructions coming from the government itself from various quarters. He will get a notice. He will also contest. He will also contest. He will want to contest. The third, someone who has who works in certain segments, certain market segments, where there are some not so diligent players. Your suppliers are not diligent about their compliances. Your customers are not diligent. This taxpayer also is someone who is likely to litigate these matters. It's not like taxpayers will not want to litigate. I've seen many instances where chartered accountants say, no, my clients don't like to litigate. See, a patient is only that much interested in surgery as much as he sees confidence in the eyes of the surgeon. The situation is that the surgeon is crying looking at the X-ray. I got a call from a friend. He said, during some meeting, I saw there was some 3-4 missed calls. So after the meeting, I called him back. He said, urgently, I want to talk to you. I said, tell me what is going on. We got a notice from Central GST. Somehow he thinks the Central GST has to take it seriously. State, parvagilla. So he said, some Central GST I have got. So I said, which section? Which section? Gottilla, cover open madila. He has not opened the envelope. As soon as he saw that envelope, Central GST, Queens Road, Bangalore, immediately called. So I said, you open the envelope and you see what's in it, and then you tell me. No, don't disconnect the line. You wait, I will open. Look at his stress. Doctor is crying, looking at X-ray. He opened the envelope and saw ADT1, notice to commence audit next month. Next month, the department is planning to commence audit. This is an intimation that they are going to, the title says notice. You understand? We have to have that discernment to know how we need to respond, because notices will come. It's not that notice will not come. In Chartered Accountants conferences, normally one of the topics, usually the topic that institute assigns to me is after lunch. After lunch, and the topic is notices in GST. Right? And commonly when we ask questions saying, there's a sort of a disappointment in the tone whenever someone asks questions, that we got a notice like this, what should we do? During Q&A session, there are questions like this. So let me ask the question that in these conferences, how many members here are heartbroken and completely disappointed if your client gets a notice? Please raise your hand. In all sincerity, only one person is sincere, 1.5. Huh? Only 2 people are unhappy if their client gets notice. Sir, please see, all your professional brothers and sisters, totally shameless. They are waiting for their clients to get notices. They are just hoping that their clients get notices. And if they get notice from central and state, they are even more elated. They are completely thrilled. Notices will come. Notices will come. Our disappointment, I have tried to trace what is the source of the disappointment. If you get a notice, obviously it means there's work to do and there's something to be explained and so on and so forth. But if notices come, why? What's the source of disappointment? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. That is one response. But that anyway, studies, we have these certification courses, we have one more advanced litigation course, many ways to address it. I don't know what to do is not such a large population. Another is, I only filed all those returns. So all of this is aftermarket activity, warranty servicing. The client also knows very carefully how to negotiate. So returns, who will file? It's a race. It's a race for filing returns assignment. I think in GST, compliance work came to GST and died. Because there is no original work that we can bring to compliance work. See, December 31st is last date to file annual return. Hall is full of members. Upload ಮಾಡಿ. You didn't ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬನ್ನಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ. Otherwise not required. I remember once somebody called me and said about UDIN. Somebody called me and said, I have a doubt about UDIN. How to affix UDIN, that number, whether the number should be printed or it should be handed. See, doubt you see. Senior partner level doubt, not chota mota doubt. If I enter the number before printing, that means certificate was generated before signing. If I sign and then generate UDIN, then I have to handwrite the UDIN. My handwriting still I'm improving. Age 52. So he called me about UDIN. I also don't know anything about UDIN. I have to go and ask this one boy in office. I'm very nice to him because he helps me with UDIN work. So he said, so tell me, sir, I don't know much. Either I'll try and answer or I'll ask someone in office to clarify for you. See, this projected balance sheet I'm signing, where I should put this UDIN, first column or last column? I said, sir, you wait. What are you signing? Projected balance sheet. Why you are saying? Bank wants it. They said you have to get it certified by auditor. Whenever I give certificate, institute has told you have to affix UDIN. You see, our confusion has nothing to do with signing a future balance sheet. Our confusion is left side or right side. So this GST compliance business, please be very careful. I'll tell you how GST compliance today it has become. After 110.22, one rule got inserted in 36(4)(b). It says whatever system says is your ITC, only that you can claim. No, but gittalla. Whatever system says, you have to claim that only. The functionality for that 110.22 amendment in the rule, the functionality was inserted from 31st August 23. Best. Rule entirely. Functionality won't come. Anyway, the way it functions is if the only thing that we have to watch for is e-invoice threshold, if it is reduced, then compliance is over. Because e-invoice will auto-populate e-way bill. E-way bill will auto-populate GSTR 1. GSTR 1 will populate the liability side of 3B. Supplier will upload all purchases. Those purchases will automatically flow into your credit ledger, your 3B, the credit portion. So basically, taxpayer is there for only OTP generation. There's one chartered accountant from Mangalore, he called me, he said, tomorrow there is one hearing. I am preparing to attend. I want to discuss 1 or 2 points about my presentation. He said, okay, tell me, 8 o'clock already, all winding up to go home. He said, okay, let's discuss. So briefly we're talking about it. Some facts I was not clear, so I asked him, can you get these facts from the client? Anyway, 12 o'clock is your hearing, so you can get it in the morning so that you're prepared when you go there. He said, not possible. What happened? Our hogbitru. He said, you call him in the morning. The proprietor has passed away. Who filed appeal? Son-in-law. Son-in-law has filed appeal. Then I collected fees. Son-in-law fees. But who uploaded all? I only uploaded. But he's deceased now. Why you filed appeal? No, OTP, mobile phone, son-in-law is keeping. Son-in-law has the father-in-law's mobile phone. Chartered accountant called him. Hey, OTP banta hedi. Bantu upload. See, in GST, there is a big lacuna. Karnataka High Court has given some interim orders. Chapter 15, dealing with notice of demand, refers to a person chargeable with tax shall be issued a show cause notice. Who? Person chargeable with tax. Section 93, it says the successor will be liable to discharge any arrears. Note the difference. Person chargeable with tax shall be given notice. Person liable to discharge the tax is the successor. Suppose the daughter succeeds, the business of the father continues as per Circular 96. She will have to discharge any liability, even if the liability is determined subsequent to demise. 93(1)(b) says, if no successor is there, to the extent estate is inherited then the legal heirs, that estate will be encumbered. Out of the estate, liability has to be discharged. But my question is, liability will be discharged by any of these persons, but who will reply to show cause notice? See, in income tax, there is one section, 159(2)(a). I don't know why this section is not challenged. Someone said, tumba varshದಿಂದ ಇದೆ, so ಹಂಗೆ continue ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅಂತ. The section says something like this: upon demise of an assessee, any notice issued to the assessee will be deemed to be a notice issued to the legal representative. I have a problem there. Maybe you will be able to answer, resolve my query. This Q&A session is two-way. I will also ask some queries. Prior to demise of the assessee, is it not true that in the eyes of law, there is one factual notice issued to the deceased, there is a fictional notice issued to the legal representative? How two notices can exist? Because the demise happens later. Anyway, that section is not there in GST, so we are okay. You can answer this question later. Person chargeable with tax never received the notice. So from Chitradurga, there was a notice. Audit officer sent one ADT one saying we want to do audit. Papa proprietor had gone. So a reply was said saying that proprietor is no more, death certificate enclosed. Officer got upset. What is this? You are not attending. He said, he can't attend, sir. So he said, you're not attending. So he concluded audit on ex parte basis. See, ex parte and sans parte are two different things in law. Anyway, so he concluded audit, then he gave ADT 1A, addressed it to his address, delivered it to wife, received it. Then replied saying, already death certificate also enclosed. You can't do this. He said, no. Show cause notice also issued. DRC 1. Order also passed. Ex parte order. Substantial demand passed. Went to High Court. High Court asked one question. This show cause notice, who was it served to? He said to the legal representative. See, the wife, the son, the chartered accountant, the advocate, the employee are all agents of the principal. Law of agency in contract law says, upon death of principal, agency terminates. Agent is alive. Principal ho gaya. Along with the, because after all, what is the agent going? Agent can only do that which the principal can do. What can the principal do? Nothing. Agency stands terminated. So they said the show cause notice was delivered, not served. It was delivered at the address, but it was not served on the assessee, gave interim orders. So please be very careful. This OTP is available, PIN number is available, does not mean everybody can keep filing everything that is applicable. We need to be mindful. In companies also this happens a whole lot. Partnership firms, this happens a whole lot. There's another partnership, one case in Karnataka High Court, I think R. Bharat versus State of Karnataka. Assessee has, partnership firm is dissolved. They have applied for cancellation. Cancellation also granted. 2 years later, department issued show cause notice. The notice reached the address of the partner. Partner promptly took all the books and went and submitted. See, you have to protect the partner from himself, not from officer. He is only so harmful for the welfare of the... therefore, he said, no, you can't submit because legally, someone who does not exist cannot participate. Tralibag India, Karnataka High Court said, when a company has merged, you cannot issue this notice. Nobody can participate, especially in those merger, etc. Department also has a difficulty to understand when A merges with B. A merges with B, the resultant company is A or B or AB. From Shukla Grewal days, we had this problem. Correct, no? So I think even that problem is still continuing. The resultant company is who? If the resultant company is the original taxpayer, if the resultant company is the original taxpayer, then that entity will be the person chargeable with tax. But if the resultant company is a different legal entity, then that entity is not the person chargeable with tax. That entity is a person liable to discharge the tax. There's a lot of difference in law. We need to be mindful. We need to be mindful. What is the preparedness of the first responders? Do we know exactly what to respond, what not to respond? First response is anxiety, nervous, tension, BP will increase 10 points. Okay, that anyway we are all prepared. Next what? It's not something that's sufficient to say, I got anxious, I did not want to upset the officer, therefore, please look at section 70, subsection 1A, that is inserted this year from 111/24. Section 70 talks about issuing summons. Very interestingly, subsection 1A is inserted. It says, when summons is issued, the person is bound to attend. I had a doubt. Till now, he was not bound to attend. Simply. Give summons if you feel like you attend, otherwise you don't attend. What is the meaning of this double emphasis saying you are bound to attend? Please be very careful. Summons is the weakest form of evidence. Today, summons are being issued by everybody. Especially if you leave Bangalore and go outside, summons is every day. Everybody, jurisdictional officer under 61 will issue summons, audit officer will issue summons, enforcement, vigilance, intelligence, everybody is issuing summons. Information procured, especially if it is not with corroboration, it is unreliable as a form of evidence. Ultimately, what is department trying to do? Assessee has done self-assessment. Assessee has done self-assessment. Having done self-assessment, department believes that that self-assessment is incorrect and department is canvassing an alternate view. Department is canvassing an alternate view. They now need to show why self-assessment is wrong. Ask yourself the question, is the notice issued bearing sufficient evidentiary value that the view canvassed cannot be refuted? I'll give 3 examples in one context as auditors will be able to understand. As statutory auditor, we asked the client to provide bank balance. He wrote a letter saying, our bank balance as on 31st March is so and so. Now this letter given here written confirmation, so therefore it has some evidentiary value. Next, the client does not give the bank balance. He will give a copy of the bank statement itself. Now this is even more reliable. Can you notice the degree of reliability? Balance written down by the assessee and provided has some reliability. But if the bank statement is extracted from the bank account and provided, it is even more reliable. Auditor says, no, I will not accept bank statements also from you. Please tell the bank to send the statement directly to the auditor's office. Does this have a greater probative value, reliability? Yes. Even documentary evidence has to be tested on the anvil of degree and quality. Just because it is documentary does not mean it is reliable. Just because it is generated contemporaneously does not mean it is unimpeachable. And if it is provided by a third party, no questions. But how many times have we raised questions about the correctness of 26 AS? 26 AS is not matching. It is not matching anything. It is not matching ITR also. After filing, not before. Then we have 26 AS not matching AIS. Income tax alla gottilla. GST is enough. Just because something is not matching something does not mean there is evidence against the assessee's wrongdoing, establishing his wrongdoing. It is only a suspicion that further inquiry is justified. 2A is not matching 3B. Whose 2A is matching 3B? Anybody's matching? If it is matching, name of that person will come in TV. TV 9, not any other TV also. Huh? So therefore, please be very careful. Just because something is causing, raising questions, does not mean now the assessee has to offer explanation. Burden of proof rests on the one making the allegation. Very beautiful decision of in income tax. 94 ITR 616, Bombay High Court, later went on to get upheld in CIT versus Chuharmal Mohanani in Supreme Court, 1988 AR where it said, Rules of Evidence Act, if not with the same rigor, but are principles of equity and apply equally to taxation matters also. So therefore, rules of evidence have to be followed in taxation also. The rules that we need to consider is, when someone makes an allegation, the one who is making the assertion has the burden to prove that assertion. But what happens is, the one who entertains the allegation and offers an explanation renders evidence unnecessary. Section 58 says, undisputed facts do not require proof. When someone says something is wrong, and instead of disputing it, we offer an explanation about it, what allegation has been made, does it require any more proof? There was one incident recently here on Racecourse Road. Cops were stopping people and checking them for drunken driving. So they stopped one person. They all, Bangalore strategic locations are meant for this purpose only, where there's no way to run away, that location. So they asked some person, Kudidira? He said, Solpa. You understand? The allegation stands proved by the response. The quantum is not the dispute here. Another person said, Illa. They asked him to blow. Then the device started ringing. He said, Yenido? Adu beer. Juice adu. What? When did the beer become juice? No, the day when they said egg is vegetarian, next day they issued notification saying beer is juice. All these things are not relevant. What is your first response? I've seen so many cases marred by the first response. So many cases marred by the first response. What's your first? Solpa. No. You understand the response. See, reply to a notice is not a justification of self-assessment. Reply to a notice is a disclosure of the stand I am taking in the matter. Something is not matching something, okay. So what if it is not matching? I am here to do reconciliation. I know how to do reconciliation. I can reconcile anything with anything. During articleship, I have reconciled debtors with creditors. You don't know me. He said, is that correct? We tallied everything. Partner was confused. How come this is tallying? He got some new information saying that this is not at all my debtor. Still he tallied. How? You give me 30 minutes, I will tally that also. So therefore, just because something is not matching does not mean there is some wrongdoing. The first response is tremendously important. Take a stand. What do you believe is the assessee stand? Taxpayers have this tendency to come and say, as soon as they get a notice, sir, kattbeka. And as chartered accountants, we don't want to have no as an answer. We say yes, correct? Kattbeka. So, and the question also is very cleverly, sir, you have filed all our returns, everything is correct? Then what is this notice, sir? Idu sumne. Kodi, warranty there. We have 25-year warranty for every monthly return. Let me ask this question. It's a nice time to ask this question because 99C, everyone is busy. People in office are busy filing 99C. We are here. How many have filed returns? Please raise it. Just by show of hands. Throughout these last 7-8 years, returns 1, 3B, 9. Okay, everyone's filed it. How many have filed those returns correctly? There are only two types of people. Those who know where it is wrong and those who don't know. If returns are wrong, so I remember I called my friend's house and he said, one of those days, I didn't realize what day it was, 20th. I called and asked for him. His father said, today's GST returns due date. Why you are calling? He's not here, he's in office. His father is retired bank employee. His father knows GST due dates. because he knows he is the one at 7:30, he arranges lunch, tiffin carrier to his office. Because due date, he has to file returns. If you tell them that all these returns are wrong, then the dinner also won't come to office. To file wrong returns, why are you staying till 11 o'clock at night? You may as well file it wrong at 4 o'clock and come home fast. What are you doing on 20th in the office? But please bear in mind, why is any information contained in your returns evidence against you? We all agreed, except a handful of some 6 people who raised their hand under total clarity or confusion, I don't know, that all their returns are correct. If we all, the vast majority here, agreed that all the returns we filed are all, tapagide. How is that evidence against the assessee? I remember one instance in Belgaum, appeal is going on. During appeal, the officer says that the allegation is that reverse charge liability has to be paid on raw cotton. The response, the position taken by the assessee is that there is no undischarged liability, everything has been paid. So the appellate authority says, in your returns, in so-and-so column, where it says reverse charge, 4F, it says your reverse charge liability is 0. When you have said 0 in your returns, how can you say you have discharged the tax? So the response to the appellate authority was, then returns must be wrong. Can returns be wrong? Possible. How many returns are wrong? All are wrong. Correct, no? Instruction number 7, instruction number 1, 7th January 22, CBIC said, we have noticed that often returns are wrong for bona fide reasons. Sak. Department also agrees. It's like saying your 10th standard board gives an announcement saying that 2 questions are wrong. If the question paper itself is wrong, all of us have attempted that question only. Has anybody skipped the wrong question? No, we attempted that only. It was so confusing that we wasted time, we have to get full marks. Please be very careful. The first responder's answers are tremendously important. Can you think of any source of information that can be unimpeachable evidence against assessee's wrongdoing, establishing his wrongdoing? Is there any evidence? Books of accounts. Books of accounts, is it an evidence against assessee? In your books itself, you are saying it is other income. Section 34 of the old Evidence Act, new I think is 32, it says, books of accounts are an unreliable source of evidence in the absence of corroboration. Reason why I say this is, auditors only will be able to appreciate. A company purchased an equipment for 10 lakh rupees. The accountant decided to capitalize the equipment. Decision to capitalize the equipment and not treat it as stock in trade, is it an interpretation of the underlying transaction? Is it an interpretation, an accountant's interpretation of the manner of disclosure and treatment in the books of that underlying transaction? Yes. Assessee has decided to claim input tax credit of those equipment. Now here is an assessee coming to an interpretation based on the earlier interpretation of the underlying transaction. Department then issues summons saying that, what have you done? How have you taken input tax capital goods credit on this? You are not eligible to take credit, and make certain statements. Based on that summons, issues a show cause notice saying that you are not eligible for capital goods credit. The view taken in the show cause notice, is it itself an interpretation of the interpretation of the interpretation? So if you understand which is the primary source of information about a transaction, which is a secondary source of information. 26 says primary source, secondary source. 26 says primary source, secondary source. Secondary source. 2A, 2B, primary source, secondary source. Secondary source. Balance sheet, audited balance sheet. Look at the confidence. My goodness, I'm amazed with that. Not even secondary, tertiary. It's all about the confidence of the person who signed it. Hey, nobody else is confident. So please bear in mind, have we questioned the reliability of any material that department is presenting to the assessee to say, look, this is not matching, therefore what do you have to say? Yesterday there was a hearing. Department has come to one calculation based on assessee's own returns filed few years ago. This table plus this table minus, plus minus, plus minus, plus minus, minus 20 lakhs liability. Since you have filed returns saying that this, from your returns itself, this liability is calculated, please show cause why this should not be demanded from you. Assessee replied, there is no liability pending. There is no liability pending, whether on reverse charge, forward charge, any charge, it's not pending. That's my stand. Whatever data you are relying on, if it is giving rise to a liability, then that data is wrong. Officer was completely taken aback. How can you disown your own annual returns? Like this only. Reply to a notice is not a justification of self-assessment. Reply to a notice is a disclosure of the stand I am taking. My stand is no liability. This is like students after writing exam. In the last 10 minutes, they are tying the paper, they are about to submit the answer paper, correct? You've seen that. The invigilator says, there's still 10 minutes, sit and check all your answers. Everything is correct. I am sure I will give 100 marks if I have to correct. Nothing to check, anything I change, there's a risk I will lose marks. So no change is necessary, please take it. 10 minutes earlier, students will leave the hall and go away. It's a different matter that they don't get 100. Confidence in self-assessment is extremely important, which today we are lacking. Officer simply has to say something is not matching something. There's a show cause notice issued in Mangalore. They said the invoice is from one hotel, Ocean Pearl Hotel. Said invoice is from hotel, so therefore you must be taking credit for food and beverage. 1 minute. Who decided that this hotel cannot give any other bill? They were selling their generator. So this person has taken credit. Can they change the name just because they are a hotel? Ocean Pearl Hotel, sale of generator. Friends, please bear in mind, by offering an explanation, we have done great damage to the case. Section 160, subsection 2 of the law says, whenever you receive a notice, order, or communication, if you have a grievance about the validity of service of the notice, such a notice, if it is answered, and no questions are raised about its validity at the earliest opportunity, such questions can never be raised in the future. This is a section that is drafted only by someone who has seen the consequence of invalid notices getting struck down many years later when the matter reaches High Court. They have seen these consequences. This is called the doctrine of acquiescence, where you have acquiesced by not questioning the validity of a notice that may otherwise have been invalid. The taxpayer has lent legitimacy to an invalid notice. We have to be very alert. I'll give an example of how subtle mischief is being played on the part of revenue. 2 instances I will give you more recent examples. Enforcement has done some inspection, come to some conclusion, issued a confidential report to the JC, State Department. Enforcement has done some inspection, come to some conclusion, issued a confidential report to the JC Enforcement. JC Enforcement has passed on that information to JC Audit, JC Admin. JC Admin has issued an assignment to DCCT Audit, who has proceeded to issue a show cause notice based on that inspection report saying that some liability exists. As you know, in GST, any officer cannot decide to issue a show cause notice audit officer should do audit and issue show cause notice, because section 65(7) says if the observations in the audit report issued under 65(6) are not complied, show cause notice under 73, 74 must be issued by the audit officer. Enforcement can take action under 67. 67(3) says after concluding of the investigation, show cause notice must be issued. Under 73, 74 as the case, chapter 15. Here is this audit officer who is not having any jurisdiction to do inspection, because inspection is the power of the enforcement department. Enforcement has done the inspection, come out with some findings, given it to the audit officer. Audit officer is issued the show cause notice. Is this not acting under dictation? Audit officer has not applied his mind. He has simply relied upon the application of mind by an enforcement officer and proceeded to make those observations his own and issued the show cause notice. So we filed an RTI application asking for assignment given to commence audit in respect of this year for this SSC to this DCCT. We are awaiting response. Obviously the response is there was no assignment. When there was no assignment, how can there be a show cause notice? Audit officer is entering enforcement section through back door. Possible? Not possible. Circular number 31/5/2018 in para 6 says, in central taxes, intelligence will conduct inspection, issue show cause notice, but not adjudicate the show cause notice. Audit commissionerate will conduct audit, come to findings, issue show cause notice, but they will not adjudicate upon it. They will transfer the files to the executive commissionerate, where an adjudicating authority will objectively, independently examine the allegations in the notice, material brought on record, reply of the SSC, conduct hearing, and then conclude the adjudication. Independence is very important. So therefore, it is very important to find out if the one who has issued the notice had the jurisdiction to issue that notice in the first place. See, there could be a real liability. There could be a real liability, but if the real liability is not demanded according to the real jurisdiction in the law, that liability has to be let go of. There is an assessee who has paid 5% tax as well as 12% tax in respect of passenger transport service, which means 5% where credit is not admissible, 12% where credit is admissible. Department initiated investigation, compelled the assessee to reverse about 6 crores of input tax credit. During investigation, he reversed the credit, came with a show cause notice, because now penalty is 6 crores, interest on that reversal of 6 crores, all of those things are there. He said, sir, yenadru madakagatta? See, the decision to pay the tax always must be taken by the taxpayer, because taxpayer is not interested in correctness of the interpretation of law. Interpretation of law is only for this room full of people. We are only interested in circular, case law, debate, inter comma, or adala namge. What everybody else is doing, same thing he will do. Taxpayer is not interested in doing what is going by the interpretation of law. He is focusing on what peers are doing. Similarly, decision to pay this tax, interest and penalty has to be taken by the taxpayer. So told him, you decide whether you want to pay this, because if you pay everything, no problem, no contingent liability in balance sheet. Bank balance comes down, but no contingent liability. Because many times they say, sir, if I have to show contingent liability in my balance sheet, is a big problem, sir, investors, auditors. You reduce bank balance, no contingent liability. So you decide and come back. He said, ashtu kaas illa. See, when there is no money to pay the demand, for me there is clarity. Assignment is there. So I said, fees katak duddu idya illi. That much he should have, because if that also he doesn't have, then I said, that much I have, entire demand I don't have any money. Okay, come with. Response was filed, because prior to 11022, there was never any requirement in law to take the entire credit and reverse where it is inadmissible. That provision came in from 11022, and in the functionality it came in only from 31st August 23. So the position taken by the assessee was, wherever eligible only, I have taken credit. Just to make it simple as an example, if total credit is 100 and I am eligible for 60, two ways of treating this. I can take 100, reverse 40. That is the present requirement. Previously, if I take 60 itself is sufficient. I have not taken any ineligible credit. So the stand taken was, only eligible credit has been taken. During hearing, look what happened. So the stand taken was, only eligible credit has been taken. So the Joint Commissioner says, you are saying that you have reversed wherever it is ineligible. He is adding words. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is different from what you are rephrasing. You are making a misstatement. The statement I have made is, wherever eligible only I have taken. Therefore, the question of reversing where I am ineligible does not arise. So he recorded. Look at the mischief. If in that moment the statement was, wherever it is to be reversed, it has been reversed. Demand can be confirmed saying, workings for reversal not submitted. Workings for reversal not submitted. If credit taken itself is 60, where is the question of giving details for 40? Revenue has to now demonstrate credit taken is more than 60. Revenue has no material. Adjudicating authority cannot cure defects in the notice. 213 LT 487 CCE Bangalore versus Brindavan Beverages. Supreme Court said, show cause notice provides the boundaries of the dispute. Nothing can be done to cure any defects. 75(7) in GST law says, the grounds on which the notice is issued, on those grounds only demand has to be confirmed, if at all, in adjudication. New grounds, he does not know how to, I will tell you, no improvement. So therefore, it is tremendously important for first responders to know some of these pointers, because chartered accountants understand accounts well, business equally well, and now all the laws that are relevant for business. If we keep these aspects in mind, we'll get a good insight as to what should be the first response. If you identify what should the first response be, you will ask yourself the question, the reply which I am giving, is it going to displease the officer? Friends, please bear in mind, if your response displeases the other person, it's a good indication that you are going in the right direction. Yes or no? Because if your response is likely to please the other person, then you know that you are collaborating and cooperating, so that the officer does not get upset with you. How many members have officers' mobile numbers saved on your mobile? Somehow this has become an aspirational thing. If many officers know you, that means you are successful in practice. Isn't it? If you know many officers, you have reached a certain stage in your practice. If officers also know you, that means you are at the pinnacle of your practice. Officers should not, because this is not the place for us to build proximity. Why do we build proximity? Why do we look at building proximity as something to be proud about? Because I can get work done in the next assignment. Correct? To do service to the next client, I am possibly doing disservice to the present client. Our focus should be to see where our loyalties should lie. Our loyalties should not lie towards the tax officers. He's doing a job, he's loyal to the department, he's doing what best serves the interests of the department. We'll need to see. How many of us believe that clients who we have are totally loyal to us? Anyone with generational practice? Father was chartered accountant, grandfather was also tax consultant. Generational practice. Clients are not loyal to us. If you need your competitors, so-called competitors' phone number, ask your client, don't search anywhere. He has both the numbers. He has everyone's numbers. So therefore, if clients are not loyal to tax professionals, why are tax professionals striving to stay loyal to them? Any notification comes out, do you have to pay tax? No. Why? Everyone's paying tax, sir. Why you are saying it? I'll find out, but somehow you don't have to pay tax. The reasons I will find out later, but I will somehow find a way for you to not pay this tax or somehow claim credit. The safari retreats has been such a pain point for no reason. Tomorrow also there is one program in the morning. For no reason. Everything. You are not taking credit. Only you are not taking. Everybody is taking credit. So therefore, please be very careful. As a first responder, our loyalties, if it is not to lie to the taxpayer, and if our loyalties are certainly not to lie towards the tax department, who should we be loyal to? I think we should be loyal to the law and our craft. After all, the client comes to us to get a service for what he thinks we are capable of. He is not being loyal to us and paying us fees for staying loyal. Fees is only for providing service. As long as we stay useful for the client's needs, he will continue to work with us. But if the moment we stop being useful for his requirements, he is happy to go find someone else who will help serve his needs better. So therefore, what is important as we look at the new year is, data differences are going to be a thing of the past. Innovative interpretations are going to be canvassed. Do we know what areas innovative views are possible? 5 areas in outward supply, 5 areas in inward supply, 5 areas in input credit. And if we identify these 15 areas, appraise the clients about it. Appraise the clients about it. Then we will be in a place to respond better when they come in with any questions or notices or inquiries, because we know exactly what those soft areas are going to be. And if those are not the areas where the queries are revolving around, then the response is different. But where the queries are relating to those areas, then the taxpayer is already appraised about how he wants to deal with it. Ultimately, to decide whether to pay tax and conclude these issues or not has to remain with the taxpayer. It's not for the tax profession. What is necessary for us to identify is, do we know what response to provide? We are so innocent and we are so happy to parade our innocence that we think parading our innocence is going to prevail upon the officer to give us relief. There is nobody who is appointed as the custodian of justice in GST. GST says, follow the procedure, justice will take care of itself. I thank Bangalore branch for giving me this opportunity and all of you for your participation. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, few minutes, I'll try and take questions. Any questions? Salpa easy agad kelapa.
Hello sir, great session. So regarding safari retreats, so I have a client who is a contractor. So it's a small case where he wants to do a construction of school for a trust. And the receipts, he wants to bill them over a period of next 5 or 6 years in equal installments rather than take it all at one shot. Now, will that be, I mean, can he claim an ITC on the construction material uses for building the school?
See, for a contractor, there is no bar in claiming credit. Contractors are entitled to claim credit because he is only going to do the work for a client and issue an invoice. The problem is in deferring invoicing over 5-6 years, he can only defer collection, but he has to raise an invoice based on percentage completion or 30 days, whichever is earlier.
Actually, he wants to raise equal monthly invoices over a period of, I mean, they want to get into a certain figure which he can raise. I mean, doesn't it look like a rent which is being paid by the trust to the contractor?
The building is owned by whom?
By the trust.
When? Now or later?
No, in fact, it is a contract given by the trust to the
Short
contractor.
question. This is long conversation.
Yeah.
Short question. Contractors have no bar in claiming credit. If the contractor is not acting as a contractor, he is acting as the owner of the building, accommodating the school in his building, then the facts have completely turned on their head. I am here, so if there are follow-up questions, I will answer.
Sure, sir.
Any other questions, please? I'm only saying that you have to have evidence to show that you brought down the hoarding after 9 months. If you have no material to show, see, look at it this way, proof of supply has to be produced by department. Proof of non-taxability has to be produced by assessee. So you have to have material to show that after 9 months you brought down the holding and the wall was empty for 3 months. You have to have material to show that.
Yes, sir. In the initial example of giving free accommodation for 3 months and then 9 months later he will stay. In that example also same.
Yes, in that example there is evidence against you. Your own agreement is speaking against you. It says that 3 months free. That means you have to pay 3 months GST.
No, sir. Free means it is like a discount, no, sir, as part of agreement.
See, what happens is, are you raising an invoice for 10 lakhs, 100% discount, 0 rupees?
Okay.
Is 100 rupees discount possible? See,
okay.
consideration has to be valuable consideration. Consideration cannot be nominal. For that month, remaining 57 months you collected 10 lakhs each month, but those 3 months, if you say free in business, see Thorson car ferries, court said in business free is impossible. If you say something is free, it's impossible in business is what one court held a view. You have to justify that the discount was normal. 100% discount by no stretch of imagination will be normal. It is abnormal discount. It's basically bad debts.
He is unrelated party. And
Even so,
no consideration, even then.
See, if consideration is not there, the contract is void ab initio.
Futurely, I will get a party, no, sir.
Now, again, we are having an argument about this. When you say 3 months rent-free occupation, occupation is an admitted fact. Once supply is admitted, valuation has to arise. So when you say rent-free occupation, you are basically saying that the consideration is not in monetary form. 15.1 says price, unrelated party, and sole consideration. If price is absent, 15.4 kicks in, you have to go to 27 to 31. So therefore, 10 lakhs into 18% into 3 months. No debate about it. No debate about it. I'm here, we'll discuss. Any other questions, please? All right, thank you very much.
I'm sure all of you will agree that listening to Jatin sir is always interesting, and he makes a dry and tough subject like GST also so interesting. Sorry for using that word dry, but yeah, at least I feel that. So on behalf of Bengaluru branch, we thank Jatin sir for wholeheartedly for taking his time out, and we have a small memento, sir, please accept. Members, thank you, and see you tomorrow, the second day of the CPE conference. We'll meet you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.